Okay, you got those started. You know, I haven't mentioned things like peas because I always direct seed them, but you can start things like peas from seed and they'll do fine. And you know what? If you need to plant peas in February, you're better off to plant them in pots because they're like the beets. They really suffer from that early cold. You know, and almost always the peas that you planted in February will do not nearly as well as the ones you plant sometime after St. Patty's Day because they just don't like that early cold start. You know, they really struggle. But if you start them in, you know, good sized packs and put them out, they'll work. You know, that'll work fine. So you've started those guys. I only direct seed rutabagas. I tend to direct seed things like daikon and watermelon radish and stuff like that. I'd say the next, and you know, it's a given that you're doing successions of things like lettuce and cilantro, right? It's just every month, right? There's never a month that you don't start those. So I'm not mentioning them, but they're still a given, you know? You're getting into August, guess what? It's time to grow onions again, you know? It's time to grow the long, you know, the ones in the catalog say 240 days. You start them in August, you know? And you put them out when they're looking nice, and they cruise through the winter. Maybe you give them a little bit of row cover, but most of them are hardy down to 10 degrees. They don't need much, you know?
I missed that. What plant?
Onions.
Onions.
Yeah. Yeah, the 240-day type, the things like Walla Walla, you know?
Yeah.
You've had your successions, right, going. You've even started more successions of fall crops, right? I said to start them in June, but things like collards and kale, you know, they can get big then, but then there's ones you're going to cover. You know, you'll pick from the ones that are big and strong in your main fall crop. You're going to start other ones that aren't really fall, they're winter, right? So you're starting those in August to put out the end of September and to cover. Because you know the other ones, you're going to pick them down, they're going to be insulted by the cold and stuff. They're kind of big, you have to make a heck of a close to put over them. But the other ones, if you put the kale and the collards out in September, you can look at the ones we have out there, they're plants like this right now. Can't eat much from them now, but they're going to boom. Coming up mid-February, they're going to take off. And they're going to put a lot of food out, and they're going to bolt sometime at the end of March. You know? And so you had this other big succession, you know, and then by then the ones you started in February to put out, they're coming in April, and it just bridges, you know. Now, you're going to write this all down, and you know what? You'll do some of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But you know what you can do, you know?
That's right.
You know, and good. Once in a while you'll ace it. Once in a while you'll hit a bunch and you go, man, I got it, look at that. It works, this is incredible, you know?
Yeah, we'll pick our favorites, do those.
Yeah, yeah, you know. I never get it off, you know. But I've done everything I talk about. I've done at least once, you know. I've had that experience, and it's like, wow. Like I said, I started the Brussels sprouts at the right time by mistake once, you know. I've never remembered to do it because I'm too busy with other things, usually. But they were the best Brussels sprouts I ever had. I always mean to start them, you know, sometime after the middle of April, and those are just spectacular, you know. It probably was a long, you know, there's long season and fast Brussels sprouts. I suspect that it was, you know, I don't remember. I don't even know what it was. I started them by mistake. But I suspect it was a 120-day Brussels sprout, not a 90-day Brussels sprout. I suspect a 90-day Brussels sprout would be too hot before they started forming, you know. So those, okay, so you missed that date, right? Eventually you get to where you're starting the 90-day one. You know, if you're starting them at the end of June, you're not starting the 120-day Brussels sprout. You're starting the 90-day Brussels sprout, you know. And you just look in the catalog, it tells you which one. Likewise, leeks. I haven't mentioned leeks. I could start leeks many times in the season, and they're really, what's neat about leeks is they're not very photosensitive. I have leeks that I started last year that are still seedlings, and if I had kept them from freezing and vernalizing from freezing, light would not affect them. I could put them in now, and they would make a full-size leek, you know. And indeed, we got some we put in the greenhouse in December. I'll let you know how big they get, you know. They were started last February.
Wow.
You know, that's what I said when I was saying at lunch. You know, my friends used to say, "Pat's the expert in abusing plants and getting performance." You know, I mean, I'm the contrite parent. You know, who makes it up to them, sends them to college, gets them therapy. You know, yeah. I was too busy for them when they were little, but I got it. You know, I had this epiphany, and now I'm doing a good job. You know. Yeah.
So they're not slow growing. You just took forever to get them in the ground.
Yeah,
okay.
Totally. Just I grew way. What happened? Actually, it's you guys know what I did, right? I was in a hurry and I seeded way too many. right? Or I didn't know if the seed was good, and so I had grass, I had a lawn. I didn't want to waste them. I had my whole greenhouse full of leeks. You know? I had to give them away. I planted lots, but I had way more than I could use. I mean, that's what happened.
Okay.
You know, and so that's why they didn't go in the ground, because I had more leeks than I could put in the ground. You know, they're still sitting around. I might still play with them. You know, because I'm crazy, and but I also like to learn. Like, how much can you do? How far can you push it? You know, I wouldn't make a major investment in them. You know, but for one thing, baby leeks are considered Epicurean delight, right? I know they're going to get pencil size. So if it looks like a few are starting to bolt at pencil size, you yank them all out and say baby leeks, you know?
That's right.
And you got something to do with them anyways. Okay, so you've started your fall stuff, right? You're coming into the middle of August, you're thinking winter crops now, you know? So you're going to start things like watermelon radish. You know, you might very well direct seed it. I like to direct seed it, that kind of stuff. But they will work to be put in pots. So it just, and why might you do that and why might I not do it?
Because we're home gardeners and you're commercial.
Well, and because I have much more land than you. Yeah. So you want to put watermelon radish in, but guess what? The squash is finishing up there right now. So if you start it in pots, it's like having more space. And then when the squash comes out, you can put it in. You might actually, I mean, this is getting cutting edge, maximizing your garden. But there's actually a phenomenon that's noted for happening with tomatoes, which is they start to thin out. They drop leaves after a while. It's like, you know, there's a term for it. I forget what it is, but commercial growers have a term for it. They're still producing, but they always have leaf loss at a certain time. Guess what? That might be the time to stick your winter crops in between them. There's enough light there. They'll get rooted. They won't do perfect, but you don't have the perfect place. It's time to get them out of the pot, you know? And then you put them in sometime in early September. By the end of September, your tomatoes aren't worth it anymore, and you cut them back. You don't pull them out because they might damage the other ones. You just cut them back, and you release your winter crop. You know, and so you just keep it going that way. You know, I kind of missed the timing for escarole. You know why? Because I never get it, so I'm not so sure of it. You know, I've only grown escarole really wonderfully once or twice, and actually, it was spring escarole. But they always say that the best time to grow it is for fall, and it's 85 days, and I haven't gotten it in at the right time, and it's gotten either too big too soon and was bitter, or didn't get big enough. So I have to tell you that I'm still working on escarole. You know, I don't have that one figured out. I've been real successful, and maybe I should just do it like all the other chicories at right before summer solstice, and that might actually be the right time. I don't know that I've ever paid attention to that. I learned that one from Joe House, by the way. I love to give credit when I remember to give it. He said years ago, I've noticed if you just get those chicories started right before or right around summer solstice, they do the best. You know, chicories are the radicchios, the endives, the escaroles. I should be starting it then. You know, this year I have this fantasy that we're all going to sit down. We have a calendar, and we're going to write down a list of when to start the plants.
I am.
You know?
That's exactly what I'm.
That's what you want to do, yeah. You know, and maybe you won't hit them all, but
we'll
at least
see if we actually do
yeah.
it.
Right, we should all
Put it
report
on
to
the
each other.
calendar.
Did I accomplish that this year? You know, I mean, that is the way to do it.
Yeah.
You know, once again, this is going to be on the bill, and they're going, he's a professional grower, and he doesn't do that, you know, but I really have been. I'm a professional fly by the seat of my pants, grow my passions grower, you know, and sell whatever I grow because I can sell well, and I make sure that whatever I sell is wonderful so I can ask a good price, you know. But escarole to me, you know, you may think, well, why would I grow escarole? When you've grown wonderful escarole and cook it with a good Italian recipe, it is revelatory. I mean, it is truly revelatory. It's incredible. I mean, the first time Diana and I ate at La Caterina's and had escarole with cannellini beans for her birthday in late May, I mean, it was so simple. You know, it was just this simple dish with pasta, and we just couldn't believe it. How wonderful it was, how rich it was, the flavors, you know, and it's just the same old story, right? It's not fancy cooking, it's great ingredients, you know. Okay, so we're into September. We've got that stuff going. Really, now you're going back into successions of cold weather crops, you know, except that I missed an entire crop. Oh, I can't believe I blew it. It's such an important crop, too. Celery and celeriac, okay? And Chinese cabbages, it reminds me of, even though we talked about growing brassicas, they're all together. The thing to know about Chinese cabbages and celery and celeriac is, and actually fennel, they all bolt if you start them too early because they vernalize. And you know what? They're really persnickety because it's not cold temperatures, it's enough time in the low 50s or lower. enough time in the low 50s or lower, and they'll bolt. So you really want to just wait to start them, or have a heated greenhouse and not put them out till then. You know, celery and celeriac, I don't want them out till sometime in late May. You know, and then they probably won't have. They need about a week to 10 days of those 50 or sub 50 degree days to bolt, and then they won't all bolt, but it'll be an unsatisfactory number that will. If you're a seed saver, save the ones that didn't, and select for ones that are less prone to bolting. So celery, I like to start it. It's a slow grower. If I'm putting it out in late May, I'm probably starting it in mid-March. It takes a long time to get them up to size. I start them in 288s and step them up. You know, celeriac likewise. You know,
How about fennel?
fennel, they're faster. I'd probably start them on a typical, 6 to 8 weeks, and you put them out. You know.
Is
But
there
they're
a particular
very
type of
prolific.
fennel that does a nice root that grows well in our area? That
Cefafino, the standard one, works great, but there's a whole bunch that claim they make bigger and do better from Johnny's, and you can compare them. I'm quite happy with the Cefafino. And by the way, Ann Gaines, Gaining Ground,
Yeah.
she starts them early. She sells baby. When they're starting to bolt, she's got baby fennel she takes to market,
Yeah.
and it works great.
Says B&L.
Yeah.
Her babies, I bought a ton of them this
Yeah,
year.
yeah, but the reason they're selling you babies is they're going to bolt if they don't, because they went out so early that at a certain point,
I like them.
they're great. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a fine thing to do.
I grill them whole.
But if you're looking to grow the big ones, then you want to start them a little later, you know? Really, when I want to start my celery, did you notice one of the things we uncovered was celery?
Yep.
That's a little late. I wanted it a little early. And I happened into this by mistake. I had some celery that I started in the springtime, and I didn't get them in, and I stepped them up to 4-inch pots, and I put them in my greenhouse in early September. I was eating them by November. I got to the point where I took them to the market and sold 50 cents a stalk. And people bought them, and they took a bite, and they kept talking about how wonderful it was. You know how long it usually takes to eat a stalk of celery? There was no fiber in them. They were just sweet.
Nice.
They were just gone. And everybody's going, what variety is this? It's just Ventura. We all grow Ventura. Ventura is a great variety of celery to grow around here, right? It wasn't the Ventura. Ventura is Ventura. It's a great celery, but it wasn't that. It wasn't the seeds. It was the conditions. Winter-grown celery is revelatory. And indeed, I invite us to go over there for our last moment of freezing our butts, recover those plants,
Yes.
and each take a stalk off and taste it. See what you think of it. You know, it's kind of young, but we can take a stalk and taste it. You know, so I recommend that you have them good-sized 4-inch cell packs to go in late August, early September, and they mature into the cold weather.
yeah,
For celery.
yeah.
And it is just
Ventura.
incredible. I mean, you
Is
know,
my handle still right?
yeah. I think we're actually coming to, we're kind of into there now. In November, it's just the same thing, but then it really is successions, Except for there was the one thing, what did I tell you?
What month?
It was gonna
What
bolt.
is it?
Oh, asparagus. If you're gonna start asparagus, probably really the best time to start it. If you're gonna want to put them out. Well, actually, you know what? Anytime up until probably November, because by November it's going to be tiny before it's going to go. Light periods wrong, go down. You have it in a greenhouse, it's not going to go down with frost, but they go dormant. So I'd say starting them, anytime now through maybe October or November. But then if I haven't started them, I'd probably wait till the other side of the solstice, so that they get a full. There's just no use growing a teeny plant and have it go dormant.
And what did you say about celery? I'm sorry, I didn't catch.
Start it when?
I would, you want to. I mean, you should grow some outside. It's fun to have celery year round.
Yeah.
So I'd start some now. I mean, not now, March, to go out once the nights are going to be consistently in the mid 50s or something like that, right? Okay. And so that, but yet it takes at least 10 weeks to get them up to size.
Right.
So 10 weeks,
Put 10 weeks on there.
yeah.
10 week.
You back off from the end of May, 10 weeks, and you're in March, Okay. Then I'd start it again, though I didn't even start it again. I just stepped it up, right?
Right.
But I'd start it again sometime to be nice and big, like 4 size, 4 pack, 4 pack celery, right? I did 9 packs actually this year. And I started them a little late. We didn't get them in the ground until sometime in late September, early October. And they're not as big as I'd like now. We're missing a lot of the cold. I would like them to be big in their 4 packs by early September.
So if they.
So you back up there, it's more like 12 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's,
Okay.
late August. It's June, early June.
Good.
Early June. Start them in early June, and then put them out then, and they'll be spectacular. You know. What I haven't covered here is every flower. You know, zinnias and stuff. As soon as they're 8 weeks before it's warm enough for them not to be hurt, put them out. You know. Cynthia Camillari, who worked with me at Mountain Air, used to always say, "Why put them out? You just stick them in the ground. They pop so fast." You know. They pop faster if you put them in the, you can have successions, but I like to start them. You know, I also have weed issues. I do better if I have plants. You know.
I just crumple the colors that I like,
and lay them out.
and they come up when they come up, and if
And they
I
do
have to
great.
move them around a little bit, I do. But my zinnia bed is the most successful thing I grow.
Yep. Well, I'm not going to try and talk you into doing it any other way.
No, I just,
You know, I know better. You know, and I should probably try it. You know. Then there's just loads of flowers, but I think you'd probably rather be warm than hear about each flower and when to do it, right?
It is cooling off a bit.
Yeah.